Hello folks and welcome back to Sew for a Sewer, or welcome if you're new. My name is Jess, this is my channel all about sewing, dressmaking and all things stitch related. And I am really excited to be bringing you a slightly different vlog this weekend. You're actually getting a double bill from me. Tomorrow you'll get another wedding dress vlog, which is really exciting. We are nearly there, I promise. But today I get the opportunity to be, I think, the last vlogger in a vlogger tour. And I'm doing that because I want to support one of the best people in the sewing community, which is Yvette from Stash Hub. Now, it is Stash Hub's second birthday, would you believe it? I remember when Stash Hub started and it was such a triumph right from the beginning. It is a fantastic app that allows you to catalogue your stash, so all of your fabrics, sorry if you're not familiar with the term, all of your patterns. You can construct projects on there. You can create like wish lists. There's some really cool magic add functions where you can like have the link of your fabric and upload it. Like, it is such a brilliant app, and it's made by Yvette and her husband Doug. They're a fantastic husband and wife team behind the app. And it's honestly, it's such a great example of a product developed by sewists for sewists. Like, it really reflects the needs of the sewing community. Yvette is so active as well. She's such a support of the podcast for myself and Sam, of Sew Your Friendo every year. Every time I bump into Yvette at an event, we have a great time. So she is an absolute joy. If you do not know the challenge I'm talking about, you still have today to enter. So to celebrate the second birthday of Stash Hub, we are doing Sew 2 to celebrate 2. We are talking sewing 2 meters of cotton to celebrate 2 years of Stash Hub. Now, if you want to enter, I'll put the infographic on screen, but basically you sew something in the month of November with 2 meters of cotton, you post it on Instagram, make sure you tag Stash Hub, can't speak today, and use the hashtag Sew2Celebrate2, and you could be in with a chance of winning a fantastic prize. Now, if you're watching this going, it's the 30th of November, no worries, no problem. You can still sew something quickly if you've got cotton in your stash, or have a look at what you've already sewn in November and see if you've sewn something that fits the bill. If you're someone unlike me who sews with loads of cotton, you may already have done this, which is really cool. There has been a fantastic blogger tour filled with ideas, with some brilliant makes from some fantastic bloggers. I've really enjoyed watching them all myself. And it's a great challenge to be a part of. So go check it out, take part, do some speedy sewing while you're watching this, and make sure to go and follow Stash Hub and start using it. It's a free platform and a paid platform. So I use the free version personally because I don't have that big a stash, and for me the free version is fine. I have plenty of friends who use the more detailed paid version, which works really well for them. It's brilliant. So go check it out. I'll put the link below. Follow Stash Hub, follow Yvette as well, Blossom Sandwich, on Instagram because she's hilarious, and go and give them some love. Now, you may have noticed there was a shirt next to me because I sewed my thing right at the beginning of the month, literal days before our wedding, and it was one of the most difficult bits of cotton sewing I've ever done, and you guys wanted a video on it, and I thought, do you know what, I sewed it with 2 meters of cotton in November. And it's also the number one thing we're all told, or a lot of us are told, to start with when you start sewing. It's, make a man's shirt. Now, spoiler alert folks, do not do that. If you're a beginner sewist, there are plenty of other projects you can beat yourself over the head with before you get to making a man's shirt. So this vlog, I'm going to talk to you about making Adam's shirt for the wedding, which is on the mannequin next to me. The pile of fabric in my lap is all of the previous versions of this shirt. So if you are excited, lots of you asked for this video, if you're excited to hear about making the shirt, about fitting, about my top tips for sewing with cotton as well, if you've never done it before, stick around and I hope you enjoy the rest of the vlog. Before we dive into the shirt, a quick thing on what I'm wearing, because I'm all homemade and partially me-made. So, stand up. I'm wearing my True Bias Hudson pants, here they are. I made these a few Christmases ago. I repaired a hole in the crotch this morning and now they are ready to wear again. Do you know, one of the best things about wedding sewing has been that I can now hand sew everything I need to hand sew, and I'm not worried about it, I don't stress about it. Like, it's just, I don't know, it's been such a huge part of this year that and it's such a positive outcome that I'm just cool with hand sewing now. Hooray. The other thing I'm wearing is a wonderful jumper courtesy of my grandma. I have no idea what the pattern is. She made it for my sister like 10 years ago. I have inherited it because it doesn't quite fit my sister anymore, so it's mine now. and I love it, but I'm all one colour as well, which is entirely unintentional. But I feel very, very cosy today, very green. I'm looking out the window, it's just started sleeting, lovely. So I am delighted to be inside and cosy. Now, the shirt. So here is the finished shirt. Now I used the Fairfield button-up, which is a thread theory pattern. Now, I have made this before. As some of you will remember, I somewhat ill-fatedly made my dad a shirt. And I made it and it went horribly wrong, and then I waited a year and then I made it again and it was fine and he loved it. Now, when I made it for my dad, I made like the 4XL or something. It was something like that. It was quite a big pattern and it came together fine. I mean, I had issues with the collar and with the collar stand particularly, because the collar stand and the collar don't fit really any of just, and we'll get onto this in a minute, but frankly the draft on that is not great because they just don't fit, and if you Google it, a lot of other people have had the same issue as well. But basically it's a man's shirt. You can make it with either a pleated back or a darted back, and I thought, great, pattern I've made before, got to make Adam's shirt for the wedding. This is an ideal setup, perfect. You know, I don't even have to buy a new pattern, fantastic. Oh, how wrong I was. So, basically, first things first, this is partially Adam's fault. I love him so much, but when we buy Adam shirts in shops, they also don't fit super well. He's quite a broad chest, but quite a narrow waist. So his measurements, when I put him into the Fairfield sort of size calculator, were all over the place. I have them on a post-it here. First of all, theoretically, he came up as a medium in the smaller size, but that was drafted for someone who's like 5'9", which doesn't work because he's like 6 foot, 5'11", 6 foot. He's around there anyway. This is important for the story. His chest came up as a large, his neck came up as an extra large, his waist came up as a medium, his hips came up as a medium, and there isn't a bicep measurement on there, which, again, spoiler alert, would have been really, really helpful. So I thought, right, I'll make a large. Now, I'm going to, very carefully, this is the final shirt, and it looks all beautiful. But I'm going to take this off the mannequin, because we have a few toiles to go. I would like you to pause the video right now and guess in the comments how many toiles you think I made of this shirt. Bearing in mind I'm someone who doesn't normally make any toiles. It was a trip, guys. So this is version 1, and I thought, great, okay, I know how to make a shirt, fine. So let's pop that on the mannequin. Now, I am going to put a photo up, whichever photo Adam will allow me to put up. I'm going to put up now. Showing you the fit of this first shirt. So you can already see this mannequin is currently drafted to my measurements. Look how tight that neck is. Now when I cut this out, I cut it out as a medium, because that's what it told me to do, but I cut the neck out as a large, thinking, oh, you know, maybe I'll need a little bit of extra room there. So it's already so tight around the neck, and then when he went to see if the mannequin would behave and turn around for me, the yoke is so high up, like it's ridiculously high. So a yoke really should sit about there, right? Or at least, you know, sort of across the shoulder blades, because that's the whole point. This sat on his shoulders, like literally, the shoulder seam is there. The yoke was so high, it made no sense at all for a pleated back. It makes sense for a dark back, but it made no sense for a pleated back at all. So he lifted his arms up, and basically this happened. So there were all these drag lines here, all this excess down here. He couldn't lift his arms up because it lifted the whole side, as you can see again, these stunning drag lines. And it was like one of the worst fitting things I've ever seen in my life. Now this was about 2 weeks before the wedding. And again, I hear you guys saying, why did you leave it so late? I left it so late because I kind of thought it would be fine. I've made a shirt before. I thought this would be okay. And it was not. So, my first 2 meters of cotton sacrificed to the shirt. And Adam tried it on, and I'm going to put up whatever photos he'll allow me, they'll be sort of scrolling across. It just didn't fit him at all. So I had a bit of a minute where I went, I'm going to have a cry. And then I looked through all of Adam's shirts that fit him, and I found that the shirts that fit him best are the ones with the darted back, because he needs a bit more breadth in the shoulders and a little less in the waist. So enter version 2. Now I've got to get the right one with version 2. I made, for version 2, here it is, I made it in calico, and I made a large, but with the darted back. Now, the crucial bit on this is we're going to show you the back. So, version 1, go away. Version 2. Now, version 2 is missing a shoulder because I had to take the sleeve out that fit and put it in another version. So, you're going to have to give me a bit of creative license here. I'm going to be able to show you one side. On here are a lot of the changes I made. We'll come to you in a second, pink shirt. So here are a lot of the changes I made. And we'll look at just this side, and we'll ignore the other side. So first things first, we had to take a wedge at the shoulder. Adam has, I think, sloping shoulders. So there was a lot, when he wore it normally, there was a lot of it sort of up here, and I could like grab that end while it was on his shoulder. So I took a wedge out of there, and then the big changes came out the back. So this is, again, 12-2. The blue lines here are the original darts, right? The red lines, what I actually ended up having to take out of the back. Now I tried, when I took 2 centimetres out of the back, I then tried to take more proportionate of where the darts were, and that fitted. So I obviously pinned this on him while I did it. I ended up having to take this wedge out of the yoke as well. So actually, that's about what we lost. And this instantly made a difference. So I'm going to put the fit photo up now, version 2. You can see it's already fitting his back a bit better. He can move his arms a bit more. It's still not perfect. So version 2 was a success, marginally. But the sleeve was the problem, well, one of the problems. Because there's no bicep measurement really, or there aren't enough bicep measurements in this pattern. After a lot of Googling, I found there's basically a lot of tension here, but it was really restricting his biceps. So I had to do a full bicep adjustment. I think the sleeve for the full bicep adjustment, I then moved to version 3 to test it. But I made another sleeve, here it is, and that instantly helped as well. So again, there should be a photo of the back of Adam on screen now, with his arms up, and you'll see one arm is much better fitted than the other, and one arm has no excess on it. So full bicep adjustment was required. We went for another 2 meters of calico. I will cut these up to do something with, but I wanted them for this vlog. So, to version 3, folks. Version 3 is here. So we transposed all of those adjustments and made new pattern pieces. And we made new pattern pieces for the sleeves. And then in version 3, I had a bit of a cry because I accidentally cut this. I was making an adjustment while it was on Adam, and I accidentally cut into the arm side too much, and I made it way too low, as you can see. So then I had to put the sleeve in the other side, inside out, but then the arm side was the wrong shape. So there's this little bit of excess here. But crucially, this is the broader bicep sleeve. It made such a huge difference. He could suddenly raise his arm a lot more. So that would be one of my top tips. If you're seeing loads of drag lines and your sleeve is lifting for sewing a shirt, then I would suggest looking at a full bicep adjustment and looking at your shoulders as well. So here we are, version 3, lovely. It's already looking a bit better. Let's turn it around. So you can see we've now adjusted the back of the pattern, so the darts in here are the darts I've drafted, because obviously we've taken that whole bit out of the pattern piece itself. So we're getting closer, we're getting there. Was this one of the most stressful things I've ever had to do? Yes. Did I cry or what? Did I then realise that I could probably put this in the Sew 2 to celebrate too, because at least I'm using a lot of cotton. Yes, that was a nice sop to my pride actually. I was like, hooray, I can use this for video. This was one of the most challenging things I have done this year. I would say making this shirt was twice, if not 3 times as difficult as making my wedding dress. Men's tailoring is no joke, guys. It is absolutely no joke. It is such a skill, and it's a skill I have a bit of now, but not nearly as much as I should have. It's such a trial, honestly. But it was really, really good to see this on Adam and actually go through this process with him, and also for him to see how difficult sewing can be and how like challenging redrafting. I think we both got an insight into my hobby in a slightly different way, and I really, really liked it. I think it was really special to me getting to do this with him. So after this draft, there were still some tears, and a lot of the tears came from the fact that I had run out of toiling fabric. I'd run out of calico, which is really frustrating because, as you can see, calico is great to toile with. I've got my really thick red thread here showing what I need to do places. You can draw on it, as you saw in the other version with all the blue lines on it. And it's really easy, because it's quite a stiff fabric, it's quite easy to see where you're going wrong, like the drag lines are overemphasized. Like I like, if I'm going to toile, I tend to toile very properly with calico, as I did for my wedding dress. But there were many tears. At this point, we are, for reference, on the Monday before our wedding, right? So I have until the Wednesday, because that's when we leave. And that's, yeah, basically the beginning of November is when I ended up sewing the final shirt. So, version 3, we had to get a little bit creative with. Now, there was a benefit to this, which was that calico is a lot stiffer than the final shirt fabric I was using. But unfortunately, I didn't have any lightweight cotton at home. I had some cotton lawn and I had some cotton twill. So we had to make the most of it. And this stunning creation was born. Now, sorry, it's very, very wrinkly because these are two fabrics that crease really, really badly. But you'll see in the photos it all pressed and on Adam. So this one I'm going to put on the right way round. So this is, to get to here, we had, sorry, it doesn't look great on my mannequin obviously because Adam and I are not the same size. To get to here, we have done a sloping shoulder adjustment. So we've changed the whole angle of the shoulder. We've taken 2 centimetres out of the central shoulder seam. We've taken a whole wedge out of the top of the, is it called a bodice on men? I don't know what I would call a bodice. We've taken 2 centimetres out of the whole middle of the back. We've redrafted the darts as well, so they sit in a better place. They go up slightly higher on Adam and go down slightly lower to give him the shape. We've done a full bicep adjustment on the sleeves. We've also lifted the arm size slightly. And then we get to here. So let me just pin this back because obviously this is where you get the, oh my god, my brain's gone, I've forgotten the word. What's the word I mean? Button plackets, there we go. This is what happens to you guys after a year of continuous sewing. It's not pretty. Right, so that's very rough obviously. But hopefully you can see how much better that is. It fits, the shoulder fit is much nicer, the neck is much more accurate. Full bicep adjustment on the sleeves, and these don't even have this, these don't even have the slit cut in it for the placket, for the cuff placket, and that is, it's still fitting really well. He could lift his arms around, he could move, the higher yoke makes sense now because we have darts. It all looks great, and as a result of this, I've loosened there, whatever was stopping this spinning, and now it's spinning with a little bit too much abandon. We'll come back to that. This was quite fun because I got to use up some of my cotton scraps as well, which again is very much in the nature of this challenge. I could take them out of my stash hop because they've been half a metre of them has been in there for a couple of years. And it was really fun actually. I think it really lightened the mood as well for Adam, and I was like, hey, I've got another toile for you to try on, and he looked at it and he was like, what? And I was like, no, I promise it makes sense, I promise. But having the really lightweight lawn, which is the same weight as his shirt, really helped to see the sleeve fit as well. So I'm going to put some photos up now of Adam in, what is this, version 4 of this shirt. So I'll put some photos up, hopefully you can see how much better that fit is across the back. It's still not perfect, but it was as perfect as it was going to get in the limited time frame. And I did actually feel quite proud seeing how far we've come. So this was obviously not his final shirt for the wedding, you've seen that. But this was the final version with all the adjustments. At this point I've redrafted every single pattern piece of this pattern, except, crucially, the collar, because the neck measurement has not changed from the large. So what I did is I went, now the last time I made this, the collar just did not fit the neck at all. So I went, do you know what, I'm going to be safe. I'm going to size up. I'm going to make the extra large collar and I'm going to put it on the large neck. Did that work? No. The extra large collar for this pattern was still too small for the large neckline. So this is the final shirt. Now I want to show you this because I'm really proud of this little ingenious bit of sewing. But I found out the collar didn't fit the day we were leaving for the wedding, and nearly had an absolute minute. So what I ended up having to do was having to take a dart. I don't know if you guys can see this actually. Let me, I don't know if you, so if you look at the top shoulder, you know, nothing looks amiss. Nothing looks amiss. It all looks fine, right? On the inside, I had to take a dart out because there was that much excess of the shirt on each side. So that is a dart in the neck to shoulder seam there. That I had to do because even though I sized up the collar, it still didn't fit. I cannot express how stupid that is. How? Last time I had only been sewing seriously for a couple of years. So I thought, oh, I'm the problem. I'm not the problem. This pattern is the problem. Because it should not be possible to make an extra large collar that doesn't fit the large shirt. Like, come on. So then we did the rest of it, the lovely buttons, the proper button plackets, the cuffs, which went on really easily. Just a side note for anyone who watched me do this last time, I'm so good at sleeve plackets now. Like, honestly, absolutely in love. And he looked so good in his shirt, in his me-made shirt, and his me-made tie, and his lovely suit. He looked so, so beautiful. We're waiting for our photographers to bring back a whole set of wedding photos. But there's some really, really nice ones of him like getting his tie put on with his shirt and everything that I will share with you guys if I'm allowed. But I feel very, very emotional about this. This is probably the only cotton I have sewed with in 7 or 8 months. Like, I really don't sew with cotton very often. And I like sewing with cotton, particularly in the summer. And I feel quite good actually, because cotton is one thing that if you're going to fit a garment, you want to do it with cotton. It makes a difference. It's so much easier to fit because it's so much more obvious where the drag lines are, where the problems are. Not saying it's easier to fix them, but it's easier to know where they are. I want to finish this vlog on a positive note. It's not just me moaning about making a shirt, I promise, because this genuinely was one of the most difficult but one of the most rewarding things I've done this year. It was great to explore men's tailoring in more detail. It was great to actually work with my partner and fit to him. And I do feel like I learned a lot more about myself as a sewist. So there are a couple of things, my top tips for sewing with cotton, particularly if you are panic sewing today to get your entry in by the end of the challenge. First things first. Cotton is much more stable to work with than other fabrics. Hooray, we love that. One of the downsides though is that if you are sewing something like this placket, the holes from your needle are much more visible when you unpick. So if you're going to unpick, my first tip would be unpick and then try and shrink the holes a little bit with your iron. So give it a good steam, give it a good press, get rid of those before you go again. It does make a difference, particularly if you're working with white cotton. Second thing would be press constantly. Cotton is fantastic to work with because it presses so well. Cotton is a great time to try out skills you're not too sure about. So things like sleeve plackets are so much easier in cotton than they are in any other fabric, trust me. Do not try and do your first sleeve placket in wool. You will get confused and it will be stressful. But press it the whole way. You have all of the options here and it's brilliant to work with. Remember that there are all sorts of cotton available. You do not have to work with super plain cottons, but if you want to, you can. You can work with all sorts of bright stuff. There are so many options out there. When you are working with cotton, you can use a normal gauge thread, but also top stitching thread looks really, really nice. If you need to do detailing or things like buttonholes, it can reinforce it a little bit more. Cotton also interfaces really well. So again, if you've been wanting to try that bag pattern or that interface zip or whatever, cotton is your friend. It is, you know, it's a great place to start. It's a great place to work. Also, cotton is generally a little bit cheaper than other fabrics. That being said, this is fancy shirting cotton that I got because it's obviously my husband's wedding shirt. So I spent a little bit more, but generally cotton is a lot cheaper and allows you the flexibility and the freedom to make something really, really cool. The other thing, and I'm going to say this in honour of Sam, Sequin Girly, my podcast partner, you can use old bed sheets, all that kind of stuff. It's all cotton, it's all usable. So if you're toiling, I strongly recommend cotton, and I strongly recommend having a route around, finding some bed sheets in a charity shop, finding an old sheet you don't mind cutting up. I cannot recommend it enough as a way to find toile fabrics. I wish that's what I'd done. Actually, thinking about it, for Adam's shirt, I wish I'd gone and I'd bought a load of cheap sheets to practice, because it's the same weight as the cotton you want to use for a nice shirt. But then it means you're only spending the money once on the proper fabric. So I hope you've enjoyed this vlog. I hope it's been fun to listen along to, watch along to while you've been sewing. You do still have time to enter the challenge. I'm going to see if I can lure Adam into taking some photos of this shirt so that I can have it as my entry on Instagram. But I hope you have the best time. I hope you have loved doing this challenge if you've already done it. I hope you can get your entry in time if you're still sewing. And remember, the most important thing is to go and give Stash Hub some love. So go give them a follow, try the free platform. Also, listen to things like their stash chats they do every week. They're brilliant. They talk to loads of sewists. I'm one of the early ones. Sequin Girly's done one. Like, everyone who is everyone has done one, and also me. But they do so much for the sewing community. They're a brilliant company, and I would strongly recommend that giving Stash Hub some love would be the best thing you can do this November and every month, frankly. So I hope you've enjoyed this vlog. I am getting back onto YouTube now as well. I haven't touched my sewing machine pretty much in a month since I made this at the start of the month. So my goals are going to be getting back into sewing. I'm hoping to do some Vlogmas stuff this year, so stay tuned. I have had a fantastic time sewing with cotton. I hope you do too. And watch out tomorrow for the final, I think, wedding dress vlog in the series. It's either the final or the penultimate. I still have a lot of footage. I have to decide where it's going. So see you then, guys, and thank you so much for watching.